Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for joining this Aptico webinar on unlocking the full value of customer journey analytics. This is a session looking at how to use data analysis to help improve and optimize your customer experience. And the aim, of course, is to improve customer experience to improve your business performance. I'm James Alty, Managing Director of Aptico. My role is to help link our development capacity with the market requirements, making sure that we're delivering software that assists our partners and our customers to do great things with data analysis. And in this session, I'll be your host for the next half an hour. Now, one of the reasons we're looking at customer journey analytics is it is a top trend identified amongst our customer base. We hold an annual conference with several hundred people. This year, we held that conference online. Of course, we couldn't gather in a conference hall. And we took the chance to do an online survey, and we used that survey to compile the Aptico Data Trends report. And when we asked our delegates what was the top topic, or what were the topics that they were considering as their top priorities for 2021, the most common response across all of those hundreds of delegates was customer journey analytics. 3/4 of those delegates identified customer journey analytics as a top trend for them in 2021. That's why we're looking at this topic today. But it's broader than the Aptico customer base. Gartner, the industry analysts, have identified that customer journey analytics is at the peak of what they call the hype cycle. Now, you may dispute their use of language and their inflated expectation of a technology, and then the trough of disillusionment as the practicalities come to bear on a project. But these projects and these technologies move through these stages where there's excitement and engagement and interest in a topic, leading to practical work to deliver the results that the organization wants. So customer journey analytics is one of those peak topics at the moment. It's the top of the hype cycle. Lots of people are interested in it. Lots of people have expectations of it. Lots of people are working on it. And it will take some time for that to flow through into practical solutions for the whole industry. But we hope that we can help. So in this webinar, over the next half an hour or so, we'll look at how we define the customer journey. So we'll talk about customer journey in the broadest sense, and then how we differentiate that from customer journey analytics. We'll look at why customer journey analytics is so important. What's the impact? What difference is it making to your organization and the results that you can achieve? We'll look at 3 common errors in customer journey analytics, trying to help you avoid falling into the problem areas that others have encountered before you. And I'll give you 5 top tips for activity. So we'll look at 5 areas for customer journey analytics to help you improve how your organization can analyze your customer journeys. So let's start with the biggest, simplest, broadest view of what is a customer journey. And you need to think about all of the touch points between your brand and a customer or a supporter in a not-for-profit business. And that includes all the online and the offline touch points. So every way that somebody can interact with your brand as they make the journey to learn about what you offer and to engage with you. And of course, every one of those customers will have a different journey. They'll have a different experience on their personal needs, their interests, the timing and the channels that they choose to use. And at various points along that journey, they may find frustrations or friction or difficulties in moving the journey forward. They may not be able to gain what they want from your brand and from the touch points that they are choosing to use. So we're looking at channels across time for each individual customer and how they engage with your brand. But that's part of a wider customer journey lifecycle. I think most of us are aware of the theory of a customer journey and the life cycle of a customer with a brand that starts with awareness and discovery of that brand an identification of the products and services and capabilities that that brand offers, a period of research and consideration as the individual learns about that brand, learns about the products, learns about the services, learns about the pricing, learns about the touch points available to them, and undertakes some sort of evaluation, whether it's formal evaluation or more likely an informal process, as they think about how do I engage with this brand, what do I want from it, what am I looking to purchase or subscribe or donate to, for example. And at some point they'll make a decision, and that decision we hope will be beneficial for the individual and for the organization, a transaction of some sort, a commitment of some sort, depending on what's on offer. And that leads to a period of review and understanding and the reality of that product or service, which we hope is successful, which will lead to trust in that brand and growth of the engagement with the brand, eventually leading to loyalty and even advocacy of the brand. We all know those brands that we trust, that we're prepared to talk to our family and friends about, that we recommend to our colleagues. That's all part of our customer journey with that particular brand. So that's the customer journey life cycle. Here we're looking at details within that. And if we can optimize that customer journey, we're giving the individual a better customer experience, something you'll see abbreviated to CX, customer experience. And a better customer experience will lead to better business performance. If you have happy customers, they are likely to transact more often at a higher value for a longer term to produce a better business performance overall. And we can see that in research. So here looking at how consumers describe their reaction to customer experience, we can say fantastic, 86% of consumers will pay more for a great customer experience. They value that experience. They value what the brand is offering to them. They will pay more for a great customer experience. But on the other side, even more consumers would be prepared to abandon a company after 2 or 3 negative customer experience interactions. So 2 or 3 interactions that didn't work, where they've had a poor experience, that will kill the relationship. For most people, over 9 out of 10 people would say, no, I give up, I've tried, I've had a bad experience. So it's a really powerful mechanism. Many consumers prepared to pay more for great experience, but they'll walk away if they get repeated negative experiences. So now we're looking at what is customer journey analytics. What is this topic? What is the more detailed view? And Gartner, the industry analysts, define it as the process of tracking and analyzing the way customers use combinations of channels to interact with an organization. Notice the combinations of channels. And channels aren't static. Channels will change as the organization develops new marketing methods. And so this definition actually is looking forwards as well. It's not a one-time process. It's looking at channels as they come on stream, as they affect the touch points that an individual will flow through. So we can look at breaking down that phrase from Gartner. So first of all, the process of tracking. So this is what route have my visitors taken to reach my site? What touch points have they used? What channels have they used? Once they land on my landing page, how do they interact? What are they doing on the site? We can perhaps be using analytics to go and look at where somebody moves through the site. How long do they spend on the pages? What goals do they reach on that page or on that site? And then we might think, what offers are they engaging with? We're looking at the communications. What do we know about the communications that we've had with that individual? Are we able to identify them now? Perhaps they've authenticated themselves or followed a tracked link. Can we now identify them and understand the communication history? And of course, we're looking at what products have they bought? What services have they committed to? What commitments have they made to a charity, for example? So you can see the financial aspect of the relationship. And then, of course, also which channels are most popular. So here we're talking about tracking activity. We're looking at what the individuals are doing. But Gartner's definition also refers to analysing. So how do we go about analysing? Well, perhaps we can analyse what are the preceding steps to bring a customer to make a purchase. What are the most common patterns of behaviour prior to a high value purchase or a low value purchase, for example? What are the steps that lead to abandonment? What are the events we can see in the touch points and the interactions from that individual that might cause a basket to be abandoned before the purchase is completed? You're looking and analysing at which journeys deliver the best outcome. So you're looking for perhaps a decile breakdown of your transaction values, picking the top decile and looking at those compared with the bottom decile. See if we can find a difference between the values and the journeys that the individuals are making. And of course, the aim is to use the insights from this analysis to increase the conversions to commitment or purchase and reduce the churn, reduce the chance that a loyal repeating customer ceases that repeated transaction activity. And that's where customer journey analytics comes in. Gartner's phrase, tracking and analyzing, that is customer journey analytics. And it's important because you can't do it by hand. You need technology to help you here. We need to look at all of the interactions across potentially millions of consumers, taking millions of interactions over a period of time across many different channels. So we need to use analytics engines to track that data, to remove the guesswork, to go beyond what you might do with your marketing personas and your journey mapping, as we'll see a little later, but to actually use data to understand the actionable insights. So you need power. We need to get hold of vast quantities of data, to have that data at our fingertips, and to use our knowledge of the business's objectives to find those journeys that are successful. And we can see that this pays off. 85% of companies with a mature customer analytics function report that they got a significant value contribution in research undertaken by McKinsey. Very strongly contrasted, you can see only 20% of companies with a low analytics function report the same value contribution. So that's a very clear split. If you put effort into a mature customer analytics function, you will get value back from it. So let's have a look at some errors. Let's have a look at some topics where you may find that you're unable to succeed. And the first is to do with confusing customer journey mapping with customer journey analytics. Now, customer journey mapping, or journey mapping to give it a simpler phrase, is a common technique used in many marketing teams, and it is a subset of the work that we need to do here for the full analytics. The customer journey mapping is a process by which you may lay out how you expect customers to interact across touch points over time to achieve the goal that your business or organization wishes. But that may well be done as a uniform journey map, or it may be that you break it down for a few marketing personas. Certainly just a handful. You might look at the different personas that interact with your organization and draw out the journey that you expect those individuals to undertake. That's a process of mapping the journeys, and you'll be looking for making that an easy path, removing the friction along that journey path, making sure the touch points and the channels are coordinated along that journey path. But it's quite likely to be an ideal journey. It's certainly going to be the journey as perceived by the organization, not as perceived by the customer. However hard we'll try to get into the shoes of the customer and see our organization from that perspective, we're actually working inside the organization. So it's awfully easy for bias to come in the customer journey mapping, and you might end up with 3 or 4 or maybe even 10 different customer journey maps for different personas, but you won't have millions. You won't reflect all of the detail in the individual customer journeys that each of your customers will make. So there's a difference. Of course, customer journey mapping is worthwhile. Of course, we should do that, but don't mistake it for the full power customer journey analytics. To get to that full power customer journey analytics, you need to break down the data silos in your organization. If you have separate views of the individuals in your app, in your site, in your social, in your CRM system, you're not getting the full picture when you try to bring all of that data together. If you're only able to see one part of the picture in each of those channels, your view across the touch points cannot be complete. You cannot recognize the VIPs, the high value, loyal advocate customers in your customer base. And so you need to bring those together. You need to break down the silo walls and bring that data together as best you can. Of course, there will be challenges there. There will be authentication, identification, and the management of that customer identity within the permissions that you gained from those customers in order to bring that together. But where you can, you need to bring that together to try to find the complete picture across the customer activity. And thirdly, it's very easy to assume that the easy to identify events are the most important events, but that's not necessarily so. Those two things are not directly linked. You may be able to find within the data of your channels and the interactions, you may be able to find the gaps, the blockages, the stops and the friction that can prohibit a customer moving smoothly along the journey to get the transaction that you are interested in. So make sure that you are identifying all of those interactions, not just the easy to find ones. Of course, you can start with the main channels and the big events, but try to make sure that you pull together all of the event data. So let's have a look at a few best steps or steps to best practice for customer journey analytics. And the first one is to do with those silos. It's to do with consolidating data from different tools and different sources to ensure that you have as complete a 360-degree picture, a total customer view of what your customers are doing at the point they start interacting with your channels and with your touch points. It avoids those risky assumptions based on just part of the data and means that you can operate within a single application to work on the whole customer journey. As I said, joining up the CRM, the email, the social, the app, the site, the point of sale systems, so that you have a view of your customers or supporters. That will allow you to start then understanding all of their touch points, and you'll flesh out the journey. You'll start to really see how an individual has connected with your brand. Secondly, use technology to go and find the journeys that are taking place. I described earlier the journey mapping. Now we're looking at journey discovery, turning the process the other way around to go and find the journeys that are actually happening across thousands of events per individual and millions of events in total, so that you can start seeing where are those common journeys, looking at which journeys and journey segments appear frequently, not just at a point in time, but based on a relative point for that customer or that individual's whole life cycle with you. How do they behave after their first interaction on the website? How do they behave after their first interaction at a point of sale? Doesn't matter when that happened, look at it as the first or second interaction and see if you can find those journeys that are building up into a pattern of millions of recurring events that you can then learn from and use to drive the customer analytics. So you can do that across channels, but you can also do it across segments. So looking at a segmentation scheme across your customer base, perhaps segment new from loyal customers, perhaps segment by the role or the persona that you believe somebody has, perhaps segment by their interaction with other products or services. and then look at those journeys, look at which journeys are most important to your bottom line. So don't just count the number of people, the number of individuals in a journey, look at the value. Where is the value coming from? Maybe there's a journey that has many people, but a very high value. That's what you want to look out for. So that's journey discovery. And as I just described, we're starting to move on now to journey insights, getting an understanding of that customer behavior, looking at trends in there, looking at people changing their behavior, looking at how a communication during that journey can impact the outcome of that journey. Perhaps who's going to make a higher value commitment or purchase is influenced by the variant of the communication that you send during that customer journey. So you can start with simple measures, looking at open rates, conversion rates, for example, but you can move on to using predictive analytics to help you determine the segments, to find the high scored or top segment customers in that journey, and then treat them to additional communications, see if you can influence that journey. And that's bringing us to journey automation, putting those insights to work, finding which insights help you deliver the best results, looking at the channels that you will use to deliver the engagement through those touch points, and then trying to replicate that process across different variants of customer journeys. So different journeys that occur in your personas and in your different segments, trying to find which areas are ready for automation. And you can start with simple topics, whether that's triggers on basket abandonment and following a journey from that abandonment, through to bigger, broader, multi-channel, multi-wave, multi-stage journeys over an extended period of time, automated to ensure that as a marketer, you're not pulled into controlling those journeys. You need the marketing automation tools, the campaign tools, the analytics tools in your business to drive that activity for you. And that leads us to the ability to optimize the journeys. So once we understand, once we have discovered the journeys, so we've started by collecting the data, we've discovered the journeys, we've built insights around those journeys. Now we're looking at optimizing those journeys to try and remove the friction points, the blockages, the stoppages, try and find the ways to influence a customer to understand the brand and the product proposition, to give them a better customer experience, to get them to the point where they commit or spend or donate earlier and more effectively than leaving them to just find their own way. So, of course, you can be looking at optimizing the channel preferences, understanding how a consumer is interacting, using that to determine the channels that are building the conversation with that individual, rather than always sending them an email. If they don't respond to an email, perhaps you can use the app, or you can interact through a loyalty card at the point of sale, give a bit more of a message to the loyalty card in their mobile wallet, for example, promote to them that way. So there's many ways that you can choose to optimize that customer journey. Now, at Aptico, we produce some technology to help you with this. And I thought just as we close, we'll have a look through some of that. So for the data fusion, you can use our Aptico Designer tool. That's an extract, transform, and load tool that allows you to pull data from multiple silos and link by common keys. That can be used with Aptico Fast Stats, which is a data exploration and visualization tool. Lets you do things like basket and transaction sequencing analysis, for example, looking for those basic patterns in the customer journey data. And then you can move on to finding and sharing insights through Fast Stats and Aptico Orbit, using powerful selections and the predictive analytics capability with tools like profiling and decision trees, for example, to produce dashboarding results that you can share with your colleagues. And then moving on to journey automation, using our Aptico People Stage tool, where we can manage multi-step, multi-wave, multi-channel campaigns, that react on events and triggers and look at the journey and the interactions and inaction from the individuals that we are communicating with, to try to ensure we are implementing for real the journeys that are most effective. And part of that is journey optimization and campaign optimization, using intelligent A/B testing, continuously refining the treatments and the content that are used, and optimizing which campaigns are appropriate for an individual or a supporter at a particular point in time. So you'll go and find lots of technologies available to do this type of work, and we're one of the vendors providing that. Now, if you would like to know more about customer journey analytics, we have a fantastic e-guide available for you. You can use the downloadable resources to download it now, or perhaps just use your camera on your phone to scan the QR code. That will take you to a landing page where you can download our e-guide on customer journey analytics, and we'll make that available to you. And in fact, one of our team is online right now to answer any questions you have about customer journey analytics. So I hope that's been a helpful introduction to customer journey analytics. Thank you very much for attending the Aptico webinar. That's the end of the session.